Good morning, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to Success Life. And I am Reid. I am a coach, and I am so glad you took time this morning to jump in and join me. And it's Friday. It is Fun Friend Friday, and I love Fun Friend Friday. Good morning, Miss Debbie. How are you? How are you? Everybody, take a minute, jump in, say hello, get settled in. We've got a guest. Buenos dias, Damien. Damien is our uncle in Argentina. Good morning, Andrew. Good morning, Michelle. Good morning, everybody, for jumping in. This is going to be so much fun. I love Fun Friend Friday. And so I'll tell a little story about Damien, why we wait for everybody to take a moment and jump in. So Damien, I'm going to laugh the whole time. So good morning, Charles, our special guest today. I'll be inviting you in just a minute. So when I get a text or a message, I might as well tell everybody this, I sometimes see it as like a bullet, like a news flash across the bottom of the screen. And so I typically respond with just information. Or if I'm sending somebody a message, it's kind of like I had this thought and I have to download it and hit send. And so I would be in the middle of the day and I would have a thought or a question and I would just send the question straight to Damien. And he would always send back like, good morning, how are you? Happy day. And it was funny because for him to start the conversation, we had to go through the formality and the handshake and the, how are you? And then go to the question. And so it almost became a bit of a joke that I had to slow down long enough to connect and understand that for Damien to hear a question, a want, a need, or whatever, he had to have a good morning, a hello, how are you, a handshake, a hug, a double cheek kiss, whatever it is culturally that you can do through Facebook and direct messaging and communication. And there's a little bit of a coaching lesson in there that I have to understand who the recipient is if I want my message to be heard. So often we go through life thinking, well, I'm being heard. No, you're just talking. This, if a speaker speaks in a forest, does anybody hear it? It's that kind of thing. It's in order to have value in our communication, you have to know who the recipient is and how they receive an information. And if you have to go outside of your comfort zone, outside of your pattern, outside of your naturalness, in order to deliver a message that can be picked up and heard and utilized, then do it. Otherwise, you're just making noise in the woods. All right. So, buenos dias, Damien. Buenos dias, Meika. Buenos dias, AJ. I hope you're having a good day. So, I laugh whenever I see Damien send me a message because it always starts with a hug and a kiss and a smile and then the question. All right. Well, Joe is here. Lisa is here. I think I saw Charles jump in. I think I see Julie. Everybody take a moment. Say Happy Fun Friend Friday. I love Fun Friend Friday. I am so excited. We're going to get Charles here in just a minute. I see you. Where are you, Charles? I know you're in here. I'll have to go look. So Fun Friend. So this week, lots of stuff. I know there was a lot of digging, a lot of twisting, a lot of thinking going on. I know for a lot of people, I've gotten a ton of offline messages asking about, and don't forget, today is Dr. Holly Kelly's birthday. You blow it up over there, people. Blow it up over on Dr. Holly Kelly's world. That a lot of people had asked about the whole video series, the whole thing, the Monday through Wednesday and a little bit of Thursday. That has all been put up on the YouTube channel, and it's also over on my blog. So if you want to find it, just Google Eric G. Reid. And the YouTube channel should pull up. And then if you go to playlist, you should see, I think it's Shifting Your Energy, all three of the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because they all kind of run together. So if you want to go in and watch it and, go back over it, that's cool. So Charles is our guest this morning. He is a fellow John Maxwell team member and a speaker and a coach and a trainer and a life changer and servicer to others. And so I thought it'd be really fun because he's been through a recent experience that kind of want him to share with you, but also for you guys to grow and share from. So take a moment and share it out so everybody can get to know our friend Charles. I'm going to hit the invite button. I really should do this with my, I think I did it. So there we go. So you just find the list, you hit add to screen, and then they get an invitation to jump in. I know I always do this mini coaching on how to do it. But remember, if both phones are this way, it works out better, because then look what happens. Charles ends up side by side. You good?
Got it. I got to turn the volume up.
There you go. You got a great volume going for us as well.
There we go.
There you
That
go.
headset didn't, when it went flat, it didn't connect the headset, which is okay.
Well,
I
so
can do without
anyhow,
it.
when you do it this way, you end up with people side by side. When you do like this, they end up in the corner, and it just feels more natural this way.
Oh, yeah.
I'll also, you know, we're diving in, Charles, because we got the game, we got the music, we got your story. But where I've known Charles through Facebook for, it feels like forever.
It has been a while.
You know, isn't it the truth that sometimes it's like we have these Facebook friends that the only way we know how long we've known them is through what shows up in our Facebook feed. But I want to first tell you, I am so proud. I mean, man, impressed. Charles went for stage time at JMT. And for those that don't know, JMT is the John Maxwell, or IMC is the International Maxwell Certification. It's where about 3,000, 4,000 people show up and grow their coaching, speaking, training, selling skills through John Maxwell and the faculty and staff. And every year, a select group, is it 10?
Yeah, they get it down, they narrow it from 60 to 30 to 10.
So 10 people get to have stage time presenting a speech in front of their peers of 3,000 plus people. And I got to tell you, just the thought of like standing in front of 10 people, 20 people a day keeps me nervous. I want to tell you, you went at it with such conviction that I don't think you cared if the room was full or empty.
Well, and it's funny that the day you see the Facebook picture, the room is empty. There's 30 people in that room. There's 3,000 empty chairs. And, that didn't bother me. It was just run with it. The process to get to there was where I really went way out of my comfort zone. And, you got to condense a whole day's activities to 3 minutes.
That's
basically for your story.
And so what I want to back up is, and this is really why I thought it was great to have Charles, especially in the heels of IMC, is the process was more important than the 3,000 seats that could have been filled. Talk about the process. Why did you do it? What made you go from talking about it to actually, like, you have to submit an audition tape for Basic Sense.
Oh yeah, you submit the first video to Roddy and he evaluates it, and they tell you up front it needs to be 2 minutes and 50 seconds long. Well, I just took this and I'm like, I speak at church. You tell me 40 minutes, I'm good. I can do that standing on my head. But 3 minutes, I'm like frozen. And I was taking my day of my heart attack down to that, to 3 minutes of the day, basically telling that story. And you submit that video, he evaluates it, and you do it every week for like 6 weeks. And then down at the last week, they peel off 60 people. And then Saturday, after I got to IMC, they peeled it down to 30.
So Gina's going to be
30
doing it
soon.
on
Facebook.
Jean is going to be doing it soon. She just jumped in. So here's the question, I guess, is, so when I think of giving, stage time, 40 minutes, I know personally that I can take 3 minutes and squish it out to, I can do a half-day seminar. You give me 3 minutes head start.
Oh, yeah.
How did you decide what needed to stay in the 3 minutes?
We peeled it down to just the 2 events of the whole day, because it's a whole, it's like Bridget Krause talks about, there's little snippets of the day, and I just peeled 2 of them out, from going to the hospital to actually being at the hospital, actually 3 from being in the recovery room.
And this is something I was talking about with Jean actually yesterday, the hero's journey, the awareness, right, the struggle, the awakening, and then in your case, the recovery room, that, like life was here, then all of a sudden I went through the tragedy, the triumph, the discovery, the awakening, the learning, and the epiphany, and we go through this cycle all the time. What were the 3 things that you I'm assuming there were three, maybe more, the three things that you wanted people to be able to incorporate into their life as a result of that speech?
I think one is the urgency of life. I started at the speech with the point and worked my way backwards. And
Okay.
that was how I came up with that was life is short, life's important. And the other point is you can't give what you don't possess. I make the point that I'm no good to anybody dead.
So,
A heart attack can be a serious, it could have been a whole lot worse.
so help me. Number one, which was really number three, is life is short.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Number two, which was number two. Oh, thank God you only had three. Was
that life is short, I think.
Life is short. And then number one, which really was the awareness, was you can't give what you don't have. Or if you're not present, you can't give.
Exactly. You can't give, like I say, because you're not there, you can't have the impact that you want to have on the people that are important to you. And then the people that they represent.
What I want people to hear and understand about this, as a speaker, as a communicator, as a connector, he had all of this, like we both said, we could make it a day-long story, but he knew that he had to find, well, as he refined it, he realized that there were really three, maybe four things that he wanted to leave behind, and that all of the story was just adding color and contrast to those 3 points. And I think the thing that we have to remember as leaders and communicators and developers and growers and connectors, whether fathers or ministers or teachers or coaches, is that we as communicators want to leave something in the room after we're gone. And if we know that before we open this, then everything that comes out of this should be feeding that point.
Yeah, if it doesn't feed that point, they're wasted words. And that's one of the real big lessons of doing it in 3 minutes is you don't waste any words. Everything you say in that 3 minutes points to the end of the point. You're just laying the context out and then you hit it out of the park at the end.
Wow. Do you guys hear this? It's wasted words. And the 3 minutes so clearly to me reflected that idea of how long we can hold our breath underwater if we're in really good shape.
Oh, wow.
like really good shape. For me, I'm like a 15-second kind of guy. But think of it, we go brain dead after 3 minutes of no oxygen or something. I don't know why that's imaging. But are you wasting words in your daily life?
And that's a hard question to answer.
So as you went through the journey of weeding down the 40 minutes or 50 minutes or a day-long story into 3 minutes, 2 minutes and 50 seconds, plus mic handoff time. Where did you see that shift in your offstage time?
Paying more attention to what I say. Paying more attention to, I have a 16-year-old grandson and 11-year-old grandson, paying attention to how you interact with them, and just family in general, my wife, everybody, is to understand that everything you say has a meaning and has an impact.
And hear that, people. When you are moving forward and expecting people around you to move forward with you, caution this thing. I love it. You've got 16-year-old grandkids and I've got a 9-year-old son. It's like, boy, do we live on opposite planets. But I've learned with my 9-year-old son that I got like this long to lecture. Like after about 2 minutes. It was funny because one day I was doing one of my coaching sessions and he was in the back seat, and all of a sudden I heard him go, "Amen, Dad." I was like,
they're listening to everything you say.
Like, shut it down, Dad. I got it. Now, my daughter, on the other hand, she'll chat about the weather for 3 days, even though it's changed 6 times during the conversation. I love that you have now gained an awareness, gained a moment where you now say, I need to know my audience. I need to know what I want to leave with them. And so before I jump in and just go, I'm going to deposit gold instead of just words.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm prepping for something Sunday, and that's exactly what I'm leaning toward is what if this was the last class I ever taught, what do I want to leave with them? And I'm looking at just about everything I do like that.
If this was the last word I spoke, what would it sound like?
Yeah. What impact would it make?
I think we need to sit there for a minute. Ooh. Now I kind of feel foolish about Fun Friend Friday.
No, man, it's fun to do it. I mean, you have to enjoy the journey because you can get covered up in how important it is and thinking, oh my Lord, I'm never going to make it. But you got to enjoy it to engage, connect with the people that are listening to you. If you don't connect, you can say everything you want and it ain't gonna matter.
So the back end question that I want to sort of follow on that then is, so you went from 3,000 people that had the opportunity to submit down to 60 people that actually had stuck in the process long enough to make it to the cut day, to 30 people that got to actually practice going across the stage and handing off the mic. So we're down to, help me with my math, am I 1% of the total available people actually got up there?
It's a narrow funnel real quick.
We got Joe here. If I'm off, I'm 1%. He'll correct me. So 3,000 down to 30. When you got the notice, and I know that they post like, here's our 10 for tomorrow, join us. When we got that, scale of 1 to 10 on the disappointment.
Well, I was disappointed because, but at the same time, I evaluated and I went, you know what, I still learned a lot. I may not be the final 10, but I got on a stage in a room that had 3,000 chairs in it. Like you said, I was 30 of the 3,000. I made one of those. And when I looked at all those other people that were there when the 30 did theirs, the semifinalist round, I'm like, man, I've judged speech for young people. I would hate to have sat in Roddy and Susan's shoes and said, I've got to narrow this down to 10 people. There were some powerful stories. And I'm like, yeah, my story's good. People said, oh, your story's powerful. And I said, great. I learned a whole lot about how to put that stuff together. And Roddy's got to call it 10 today. And I think I know why I didn't make the final 10. I'm going to run it by him. But hey, as long as I'm still learning, that's the main thing. And I've put that speech aside and I'm working on the next one.
So, oh man, you just dumped so much gold. One, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn.
Absolutely. You have to learn.
I reflected on the journey and saw how much I gained in the process, that the prize wasn't really the end.
Right.
And when I looked at the other people that got moment on the stage, you weren't really saying that they were bigger or better or smarter or faster. It was just like, you know what? I can see how that message has value today for this person in that place.
Exactly.
And
all
so
that
you didn't fall into the comparison trap of like, well, I know mine was better and I can't believe he didn't like me and it must be because. You just went, you know what? I gave it my best. I grew, I learned, I did. And now I'm moving on to the next thing.
Exactly. I ran into his wife in the hallway after it was over. She says, we're sorry you didn't make finalist. I said, whoa, don't be sorry. I said, you guys taught me a lot over the last 2 months that I would not have learned had I not gone through this.
Well, I think aside from that, she owes me back the $10,000 I tried to buy her to getting you on stage. So I'll get with Susan.
That did not work.
Yeah, I need my money back because I was like paying people everywhere. I was paying the housekeeping staff to make sure you got up there because I know your effort. So would it be unfair? I know everybody's like, is he going to make him do the speech? Would it be unfair for you to give us 2 minutes and 50 seconds?
Oh, wow. I was thinking about that on the way to work this morning. Could I recreate it? I can probably go through it, dry run it, kind of like the corrections I think I should have made.
No, do it. Just do it from your heart. Be authentic. With
Oh, what I did there.
Now that the clock isn't being ticked.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I will do the introduction as we do at IMC. Please welcome to the stage with a thunderous applause, an incredible and inspiring and an insightful speaker, trainer, coach, and friend, Charles Shepherd.
Well, in 2013, weighing 420 pounds with a BMI of 55, I was labeled morbidly obese and I had to do something. So I elected to have gastric bypass surgery. I didn't have any of the problems that most of my friends told me I would have, including death. And so, but 2 years later, on July the 18th, 2015, I had the worst indigestion, vomiting, heartburn that I've ever had in my life. And it went on for about 2 hours, and I finally said to my wife, we need to go to the emergency room. I don't know what's wrong, but I need to go there. On the way to the emergency room, I'm telling my wife, we need to be in a hurry. We're going to the emergency room. And as I shifted in the truck to get more comfortable, my left arm, I realized, had gone to sleep. So knowing that symptom and what it meant, I'm panicking, telling my wife, you need to put on your emergency flashers. We need to run these lights. She says, no, we had a wreck here at one time and we're not going to do that again. So we progressed to the hospital at her pace. After we get there, I go into the emergency room. I go to the desk. I tell the lady I'm 55 years old and I'm having chest pains. That's the fastest service I've ever gotten because I turn around, there's a nurse, my wife in a wheelchair, and to the exam room I go. Once I get to the exam room, of course, they start taking off my clothes, sticking wires and hoses and everything to me. And the next thing I know, they've taken all of my clothes off while they finish connecting me up to every piece of equipment in that room. And then the doctor walks in, looks at me laying there and says, Mr. Shepherd, do you know what's going on? I look around and he says, you're having a heart attack. He says, we're going to take you to the cath lab. The stent should take care of this. Everything's going to be good. Now, I expected to hear heart attack when I weighed 420 pounds, but not while I'm laying there weighing 240 pounds 2 years later. But as I go to the cath lab, sure enough, they put a stent in my heart. I'm relieved of all that distress and indigestion, and heartburn is all gone immediately. And then they take me to the recovery room. And as I'm looking around that room at all of those bells and whistles and lights and everything else going on and all that equipment that I'm still connected to, I realize and reflect on my life and what's just happened. Because when you hear the words heart attack, that's a door knocker. It knocks on the door of your life pretty hard. And so I start evaluating and realizing that life is short, life is important, and I'm no good to anybody dead. And that I need to live each moment to make the impact on those around me that I can. So every day I hear that doctor's question, Mr. Shepherd, do you know what's going on? And every day I answer that question by living my life as if that day will be the last day I ever live. And that's my speech.
Beautifully written, beautifully written. I mean, thank you for jumping in and doing it on the spot. Beautifully written, because as a storyteller kind of person, I could just see that, like, really, honey, we're worried about the accident that happened here 2 months ago.
Yeah.
I'm dying. Like, you can see 40 years of marriage being played out in that single moment that we could all connect to and relate to. And then the idea of, like, being stripped and all of the wires and hoses and bells and whistles going in. I mean, you crafted the story so well. I always say a good speech is like jumping on a train car. The conductor controls the speed and the direction and the destination. And as we go through, we get to see the scenery. You painted beautiful scenery, beautiful highs and lows and twists and turns. And I love how you use the doctor's question as now a mantra for life, of saying, do you know what's going on?
Oh yeah, it's a huge question. When you reflect, of course, you see that doctor standing there in that room full of chaos, and you're like, yeah, life's pretty chaotic. But that question right there went zoom, right there in front of you, and you're like, whoa, hello.
Beautifully done. Beautifully done. Congratulations. I think you should have been not only the top 10, but the only one. But, you know, I'm not ratty, so I have no control. But for those that are, good morning, Ed. You got to come back and listen to Charles' speech. He did a phenomenal job. For those that want to make an impact, whether it's at their dinner table or in their boardroom, whether it's in their church or their youth group, or even if they're a speaker, trainer, coach, go back and listen to the story. And so often we got to do it a 2 or 3 layer time. If you can chart it out. Now, remember back in old English school where you had to find the subject, the noun, the verb, all that.
Oh,
Start
yeah.
to look at great speakers in that way. Begin to see like, oh my gosh, I see where he's taking us. We see the energy of chaos and confusion and fear and all of that. And then we have a little moment of humor and laughter in there when he's like, really, honey, come on. I think this time we can risk going a little faster. And then the fastest service I've ever got, we could all visualize sitting in an ER or a doc in the box. Like, really, I've been here 3.5 hours. I could have died by now. And so you did a beautiful job of moving the emotions. And then the pause of saying, do you know what's going on, is the question that I can ask myself 1,000 times a day. Do you really know what's going on here? And it calls you back to being present and in the moment and fully connected to your purpose and your passion.
It's almost like that question you see 100 years from now. What difference is it going to make? You know, but to me personally, it's, you know, it's that visual. And I think everybody has a question like that that's been asked of them in their lives. If they'll just paint the picture in their mind. Now, some people avoid it because it may surround some kind of tragedy. It may be something else. But, you know, there's a moment in your life where you have that aha moment and go, oh, man. And you just stop and freeze and go, do I really know what's happening? Is this really important? You know, and that makes for some hard decisions, because you have a heart attack. I remember the symptoms to this day. And every time I start having those symptoms again in some stressful situation or whatever, I go, stop. Don't get wigged out by it. Don't allow it to evolve into something like that again.
Oh,
And you make it, you know, ask that importance question. Do you know what's going on? And does it really matter?
I love that. I love that awareness. And then we're going to move to the Fun Friend Friday part. Is that
there we go.
Sometimes we go all the way down, we go through the heart attack, we go through the depths, we go through the bottom. And if we totally process it fully, we don't have to go there again. We can, you know, we can see it coming. It's like, you know, looking up and going, it looks like it's going to rain today. All indicators say I'm about to overstress myself. I'm not going there because it's not worth it. And we begin to use that awareness of what used to stress us, what used to fear us, what used to hold us back as a signal to be like, wait, I'm grown past that. I'm going around that. I'm going through that. I'm handling it a different way. Yeah, we have Ed Reid, Mr. Reid, who had a similar incident. I think he had technically a TPI or what, you know, like a heart attack, but not a heart attack, like stroke thing. I guess we're all just getting old. I had something going.
Don't say that.
I had something going on over the weekend, and I turned to my spouse and I was like, I think I'm having a heart attack. And it's like, well, are you going to go to the ER? And I'm like, well, apparently not, because you're not jumping out of the chair to drive me. So, you know, either that or it was like, well, you know, anyhow. Thank you for being put on the spot, going through your speech. It was beautifully crafted, well organized. I can see the amount of work and effort and time it took to get all of the meat to the best parts possible. You, phenomenal. And if we share this out enough and get enough likes, you'll still get your audience of 3,000 somehow.
Oh yeah, it'll happen. It was probably the hardest thing I've ever done as far as speaking is concerned.
So
and,
do you feel freer? Like, man, you know, there are certain things that when I climb that mountain, I'm like, well, when I look at other things, it's like, really? If you had known what I did to get here, this would not be frightening.
Oh yeah, now that it's done, I know what to do for the next one. And I've already, before I left IMC, I already started crafting the one in my head and it involves my 16-year-old grandson when he come into our
So
life.
what's interesting is the urgency of doing it isn't probably the same. Now it's like, yeah, I want to do it because it was fun. The learning was
Right.
fun, not the achievement, gold medal, winner of the stage kind of thing. Just the processing was fun. But so much of our life we sit waiting to do because we're afraid of the outcome. And now you've realized that the outcome wasn't the whole point of it. And so now it's like, what do I got to be afraid of? I don't care if I make it. I mean, I remember Becky Spieth said that there was a moment when she was one of the 30, one of the 10, whatever. And she said, this isn't for me. This moment isn't for me. This is for somebody else. That she realized that the growth and the process and the development that she went through to get to the moment was what she really needed to be there for, not the moment.
Oh, yeah, it's your growth, but really it's about the people that are sitting in front of you listening to what you've got to say. And if you make it about them, to get there was about you, but to actually be there is about them.
Oh, Joe, get that. To get there was about you. To be there was about them. To deliver the message. And I agree. Sometimes, especially doing this every day now for over a year and a half, some days I'm like, I have no idea what we're doing here. And then somebody will send me a message later in the day, the week, the month. I've had people months later go, I saw your video. Thank you. And I'm like, okay. I just showed up and did what I did. I didn't know it was going to be like all that to you. So time for the Fun Friend Friday. Thumb roll.
There we go.
Drum roll. Happy face smileys. So welcome everybody to the fun part of Fun Friend Friday. So what we do is we have our little stack here and we take words like modeling, legacy, consistency, desire, growth, and influence. And I've got about 20 or 30 different random words. And I asked my son on Thursday night, it's funny because he still wants to do it. You know how 9-year-olds are. One thing that used to be exciting becomes dull. And I asked him to stuff the envelopes with chosen words and not tell me and not tell you. Like pretty soon he'll be able to call all my friends. And so he has stuffed our envelopes. The envelopes have, so we have blue diamond. I do this. I got to get better at this. So we have pink heart, orange clover, or green clover, red balloon, rainbow, orange star, blue diamond, and yellow moon. Now I'm going to do a little coaching tip here, by the way. So if you're doing something like this, write the information on the back that's already on the front so you don't have to keep going like this. Just read the back of the card. Like right now it says yellow moon down in the bottom corner. So I don't have to worry about being able to see the camera. Just a little hint. And the reason we chose symbols is because when you do Facebook Live and TV or video through phone, everything always ends up in reverse because of the way the camera is designed. So if I had written yellow moon, it would be backwards and it'd be confusing and I'd be upset. It's like going stage left versus staged right. So
absolutely,
while you sort of contemplate on your chosen word, we have to do the theme music for this part of the show. I'm lip syncing, Lisa.
Oh yeah.
I mean, everybody that grew up in that generation sees B. Arthur and Betty White and Estelle Getty. Those were the days. Good TV.
Oh yeah.
I love listening. Thank you. Thank you, Susan. So, which one is it going to be?
Let's go with the rainbow.
Rainbow.
We'll see what he's got.
Rainbow.
It's funny that a 9-year-old put this together.
Pardon?
I said when he puts them in there and doing the colors, that's funny.
Yeah. So Rainbow we have, and in due respect to my idol and someday co-host Steve Harvey, did you notice I called him my co-host? I open it where we can all see it together, so there's no cheating. The word is balance. So give us you know, 2 minutes and 50 seconds on balance, please.
Balance is, I think, keeping things even in a sense that you've got to determine. Balance involves trade-off.
Ooh.
Balance is, you have a scale. When I think of a balance, and most people are not old enough to remember a balance scale, but you put weight here and put whatever you're purchasing, you know, over here to figure out what it weighs, and you have to trade off. If I put more stuff here, I got to put more here. I got to take something off if I take things off. But you want to keep it balanced, and that's the way life has to be. If you focus too much on any one thing, you pull the scale down. And when you do, things get out of balance. And like my personal health problems, you know, situation, things got out of balance and caused the stress level to go too high, which probably is caused the heart attack to start with, you know, blood pressure rising, all that other nonsense. But once you pull everything back in balance, then everything seems to be, you know, it runs smoother. Now, that's not to say life doesn't happen and pull it out of balance, and you've got to be aware of that. And when you are, then you can pull things off or add things to, you know, personal development. I got into John Maxwell for personal development. I didn't have any idea or desire to do anything else with it. But helping that balance in my life after the heart attack and being able to, you know, family's important, work's not. You know, I've been stressing. My job is probably going to go away at the end of the year, and I stress over it. Earlier this year, I got to thinking about that, and I thought that's the dumbest thing on the world. There's nothing I can do to control it. So quit worrying about it. You pull that off, and things come back in balance again. That stress leaves. Now, karma and life happens. I have an air conditioner at my house that's blown up, so now stress is back at it again. But I can't do anything about that either. So you keep those things in balance. And that question, you know, do you know what's going on 100 years from now? Is it going to matter? Those kinds of things go through my mind all the time, to know that if that pulls me away from what's really important, that's out of balance. You know, that it's the Orientals have the yin and yang where they've got to be, you know, coupled together. That's a point, you know, as a person of faith, that's a thing in the Bible, it's a thing in life. It's just the way you're built, is you have to have things balanced out. And once they're there, it runs a whole lot. Life is a whole lot smoother balance than out of balance.
Wow. So you're just a natural gifted speaker. So what I loved was the law of the trade-off. That if you want to establish balance, something's got to come off and something's got to come on. You can pile more on, which means you're going to have to pile more on the other side, or you can take something off, which means you can take. I love that idea of trade-off, because so often we try and establish balance by saying, well, I can have it all. No,
Yeah,
you can't.
I can't be done.
You got to give up something to get something. That's just
Exactly.
the law of life. And so and then the second point you made is you have to be intentional about what you're adding and what you're taking out. And then you have to be aware of that there needs to be trade-off. And as you said in the end, the idea that, you know what, I'm willing to let my ego go. I'm willing to let my control and ownership and being rightness go for the benefit of. And I think sometimes in seeking balance, we have to prove something, ego's involved, well, if I can't do it all, I'm a bad mom. If I can't do it all, I'm a failure. Get that crap gone, because in 100 years, you think somebody's going to pull out your permanent record from 3rd grade forward and say, you know, on March 27, 1999, you know, whatever. No, the law of the trade-off requires that we become more intentionally aware of what is valuable. And I think that is so wonderful, because it ties back to the fact that you had an entire life experience in a day, that you had to figure out what was most important to deliver to people in 2 minutes and 50 seconds. And what you left us with when you delivered that message, that speech, that was gold, and that was meat, and that was value. And you let all of the other things go in order to achieve that objective.
I like that.
So well done coaching lesson on balance. Y'all, you get that? Law of trade-off, intentionality, awareness, sacrifice. I think there's a book like 15 Laws of Growth or something, Invaluable Laws of Growth. I
Somewhere.
should write a book about the things like that. The law of intentionality, the law of trade-off, the law of awareness, the law of sacrifice. To go up, you got to give up. I think I could do some teaching. Maybe I should call my friend John and see if he wants to co-author a book around those things.
Collaborate.
So much better done collaborating than trying to create on my own some days. Well, Gail just jumped in. Good morning, Miss Gail. You're going to have to go back and listen to Charles's 2 minutes and 50 seconds. That was his stage time speech. Gail has been in nursing and hospital care forever, so she understands that moment when the doctor says, by the way, you're having a heart attack. Stop talking. Let us do our thing.
Right.
Yeah, Joe, was there any others besides awareness, sacrifice, trade-offs, and intentionality? Joe is like the smartest guy in the room, I tell you.
He's on top of
it. I mean, Joe, who was it? Grace, Burns and Allen.
Mm-hmm.
I always feel like Gracie. And then he's like the intelligent, the straight man.
He's your straight man.
He's my straight man. He's like, and there's a new friend I found on Facebook that reminds me of Will Rogers with, just the wisdom that it's like he said this morning, he said, if I'm thinking out of the box, am I thinking myself into another box? And I just love that thinking. So anyhow, a side note, thank you so much, Charles, for jumping on and being a Fun Friend Friday. Thank you for always being there and being an encourager and inspired to me and others. Study 15 laws, 21 laws, and 17 laws. They all apply. So does that make what's 15 plus? That's 20, that's 32. So yeah, don't worry.
Wow.
Pick one of them, you guys. If you're not familiar with John Maxwell, #1 leadership guru by Fortune 500, Entrepreneur, Success Magazine, Amazon. I mean, he's 77 years old. He's been doing this for 70-some years. If you want to learn from somebody about leadership and personal growth, he's the guy to go to. And I tell everybody, if I had been there and 3,000 people had asked me what's the book they should start with, all 3,000 of them would have heard 15 Laws of Growth. Live it, learn it, repeat it, rinse and repeat it, do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again, and then do it one more time, and you'll be about halfway through. So if you're not familiar with John Maxwell's work, 15 Laws of Growth. If you've never been part of 15 Laws of Growth, I know I have one that's available through my website, and I know that Lisa and I actually did one that's up there, and I'm sure everybody else does. Reach out to one of us. We'll help you get it done. Any parting words for our group today?
Live life like it's your last.
Live life
like today's your last. Live today like it's your last day.
That's both an exciting thought and a scary thought.
Oh, it scares, like Joe just posted, legacy. That's important. What you gonna leave behind?
Shoot, the way my desk looks today, a mess.
A garbage truck full.
But I do understand that. And it's so, and I think that's why we've been friends, is because when I teach and talk about being a success life and living life with success, it isn't that legacy of a bank account. Because even inflation will turn a millionaire into a common man.
Absolutely.
The legacy, somebody said the other day, and I've stolen it, and it's now mine, is I don't want my kids to know how much money I have. I want them to know how I earned what I have.
Right.
And love the fact that they can replicate it and repeat it from within and through, and be proud of it. Be proud of what we accomplished as a family, as in a team. So thank you so much. I'm not having a heart attack. I'm just dipping down here. Thank you so much for being a Fun Friend Friday. Thank you, and congratulations on your courage to go from 3,000 to 60 to 30 to #1 in our book today is the IMC Speaker of the Year. And take a moment, you guys, share it out. Just if for now that other reason that there's somebody that is in that cycle that Charles wanted to hear the message about living today as if it's your last, understanding the importance, and that 2 minutes and 50 seconds, that middle piece, that's gold for somebody out there. And it's really our responsibility sometimes to just, as my friend Becky says, just pass it forward, because we're not always sure what it's supposed to do when we let it go, but we know that we should.
Absolutely.
So we got to go out with the music. So thank you so much for being a Fun Friend Friday. Thank you, everybody, for jumping in and taking time with Charles and I. Oh, I forgot to ask. I'm such a bad host. Please don't tell my co-hosts. Any big classes, webinars, seminars, trainings you're doing that are coming up? I know you're doing some kind of leadership groups.
We did that this past Saturday.
Oh, I thought it was,
at church.
okay.
It was we took the acronym FOCUS, follow one course until successful, and talked about intentional leadership with church leaders. I was the MC. We had 5 speakers. It could not have gone any smoother.
Congratulations.
It was amazing.
So whatever your next project is, take a moment and put it down below, or direct people to your website if they want to connect and follow with you. Like I said in the bio, Charles's mission in his heart is to serve others, whether inside the church or out. He just wants to make an impact on leadership, and he welcomes the opportunity to do so.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, my friend. Have a wonderful Friday. I will see everybody back here Monday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern for another Success Life. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Charles, so much. Bye-bye.
Good deal. Bye.